This is Sarah.
And this is Rachel.
And this is the Rippah Diaries, a podcast where we rip apart, episode by episode, the Vampire Diaries. Warning, this is a spoiler podcast. We always talk about spoilers. Today, it's the season 2 recap, so of course, we're going to spoil all of season 2.
Yeah, and probably season 1, and
season
probably
3,
future
season
seasons.
8.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Anything is fair game.
Yeah.
Always, yeah.
It's always fair game, yeah.
But yeah, this week we're talking the season 2 recap. I can't believe we've finally done all of season 2.
I know.
So we've covered so much in, it's been a year.
It's been a year.
It's been a
We did
year,
2
so I
seasons
guess
in a
not
year.
that fast, but it seems
It
like
feels
it's flown
fast.
by. Yeah.
Yeah, it does feel fast. So we're going to do some of our favorite Delena, favorite Stelena, favorite costumes, favorite quotes, favorite songs, all the faves from the whole season.
Yeah.
And just a reminder before we get started here, we will be picking back up with season 3, episode 1, The Birthday, on May 30th. Before that, obviously, we're going to do this look back at season 2. We're going to have some other special episodes leading up to that. So stick around. There'll still be some stuff. But
yeah.
We'll be back on May 30th with season 3.
Season 3. So excited. But for now, we can get into, I think a good way to kind of recap the season is just talk about all of the characters. So many characters in this season start off in drastically different places than in season 2, episode 1.
Yeah, you forget how far people have come from the finale, and then you're like, wow, they were doing that in the premiere?
Yeah.
Maybe one of the less drastic, starting, of course, with our lead gal, Elena.
Of course.
Elena starts off the season having just come home from Founders Day, and she finds Catherine. Well, she finds John with his fingers cut off in the kitchen floor, bleeding out. And that obviously, her life has been turned around because Catherine has come to town to, mess with her, seemingly. And, she gets forced to break up with Stefan because of it. She spends, most of the season trying to be a martyr, trying to, help with this whole doppelganger situation. And she finds out that she's a doppelganger and that she's going to be killed in the ritual.
Yep.
She finds that all out this season. And as with season 1, a big theme for Elena is just grief and loss and losing people.
Yeah.
And she does basically lose everyone related to her that's left in this season. John, Jenna, Isabel, even Jeremy dies a couple times for a little bit.
Yeah, true.
So she's constantly losing people. And in the finale, she even loses Stefan because he has to make the deal with Klaus to leave town, which leaves her in bed with Damon.
Speaking of Damon, perfect segue. In the first few episodes of season 2, Damon is still an antagonist. Bonnie only barely let Stefan save him in the season 1 finale.
Yeah.
And then he tries to kill Caroline when she becomes a vampire. So he's pretty opposed to Stefan and Elena and all of them. And of course, Catherine also tells Damon in the first episode that it will always be Stefan and that she doesn't love him. So he spirals and kills Jeremy, which he struggles to kind of bounce back from, but eventually he does. But then Rose dies and he spirals again. So, like I said, very up and down.
Yeah.
But after that, Damon's whole plot can be summarized as, I will save Elena at any cost, even if everyone else is pissed off at me. Mm-hmm. And eventually, when the Klaus sacrifice situation becomes unavoidable, Damon really doubles down and feeds Elena his blood to try to turn her into a vampire. And he immediately regrets this decision. That leads him to, definitely for all the nuance to this, watch the season 2 finale episode. But he rescues Tyler and Caroline and gets bit by Tyler. So he spends his whole last episode dealing with his werewolf bite. And he's sick and hallucinating. But of course, this all culminates in the iconic scene of him and Elena in bed having their first kiss.
Yeah.
So he's clearly back in Elena's good graces by the end of the season.
Yeah.
And everyone's. I mean, Stefan sacrifices his whole life to save him, basically.
Yeah.
And he does a full 180, because in the first episode of season 2, he thinks he just kissed Elena.
Yeah.
And then he really does get to kiss her in the finale.
Yeah.
Nice little full circle.
It is full circle. He does have a huge transformation this season. And the other person that I would say had the biggest transformation is, of course, Caroline Forge.
Yeah.
Caroline in the premiere is literally in her hospital bed, healing up from the car crash in the season 1 finale. They think she's going to die.
Yeah.
And they convince Damon to give her blood to heal her. Until Catherine finds out about this and decides to kill Caroline instead, turning her, of course, into a vampire.
Yeah.
So she, of course, goes through that huge change of, learning how to be a vampire, and, her personality completely changes, but for the better, I would say. She gets a lot better than she was in season 1. She makes up and breaks up with Matt a couple times.
Oh my God.
She gets really close to Tyler. And yeah, by the end of the season, the thing that she really is avoiding, the thing she really doesn't want to happen, that does happen also earlier in the season, is of course her mother, Liz, finds out that she's a vampire. But by the end of the season, she's decided she's accepted that and that she doesn't want to like live the lie anymore. She's gonna, deal with it. So that's where we leave Caroline.
Yeah, and of course, Caroline, Tyler, very tied together in this season. With Tyler, he doesn't have a ton of side plots or anything, so he's pretty straightforward. He starts off still very angry. His father obviously just died in the burning of the tomb vampires in the apothecary, the old apothecary.
Yeah.
And yeah, Tyler's very angry until Uncle Mason comes to town and helps him a little bit with his anger. But of course, even more than that, he reveals to Tyler that the Lockwoods have the werewolf gene. And eventually, of course, Catherine manipulates Tyler into triggering his werewolf curse, just like she did with Mason. And Tyler struggles with that, which Caroline helps him through a lot. And eventually, Tyler just decides that it's all too much, and he just leaves town for most of the season. And then he comes back when Maddox/Klaus lures him back to participate in the sacrifice.
Yeah. He really goes through it with
he does.
Seeing his friends captured and tortured.
He participates in the kidnapping of Elena. Yeah, it's not great.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Someone else who also goes through a lot and like a lot of bad things is of course Bonnie.
Yeah.
Bonnie starts out the season having like she had finally come into her powers really in season 1, and by season 2 we're seeing like a very confident witch in season 2 episode 1. She of course though has a lot of problems with the vampires, and especially the fact that like very early on Caroline becomes one. That's like a huge thing for Bonnie to deal with. She does end up getting over it, like I would say fairly quickly, just because there's like bigger fish to fry by that point.
Absolutely.
And so she learns from Luca how to channel magic. We see her harnessing things, and she even goes and harnesses the spot where hundreds of witches died, making her super powerful so that she can of course take down Klaus, the original vampire, which is a crazy plot for Bonnie. But yeah, that of course requires her to fake her own death for like 3-4 episodes at the very end of the season. And we do see her finally perform her biggest magical feat yet, which is bringing back her love, Jeremy Bing Gilbert, from the dead.
Not the Bing.
It's part of his name now.
It is. But Jeremy, oh yes, Jeremy. Jeremy really also does, every character does a huge transformation, but Jeremy spends the first episode recovering from trying to turn himself into a vampire by taking all of the pills that he had, and that of course is unsuccessful, and he just kind of but at least he's now in the know, so that just kind of leads to him being a little bit more involved with everything. He tries to become part of the scheming. He tries to help Damon out with some of the Mason Tyler Moonstone plot. And they even kind of become friends after the whole killing him thing. Yeah. And yeah, that's his main plot, is Jeremy's just kind of involved in addition to being like Bonnie's love interest. Yeah. And of course, it's a little bit of a slow burn, and they flirt for basically the whole season, and then they start dating. Yeah. And then after that, they're pretty much inseparable. She saves his life. And yeah, after Liz shoots him in the second to last episode. But yeah, Bon Bon brings him back to life. So, but we see he's good, but now he can see ghosts, which sets up his whole season 3 plot.
Yeah, serious consequences, as the witches said. Yeah. On a lesser main character note, we have Alaric, who I feel like through season 1 he was mostly a side character and is coming into being a main character. And again, we see him starting to become part of the team. He takes Delena to Duke at the start of the season. He has the Duke trip, and we see him get closer to Aunt Jenna, of course. They're kind of trying to form more of a relationship, until of course Klaus borrows his body for a couple episodes to just go to the decade dance and terrorize Jenna. Yeah. And that of course left him mourning Jenna's death through the ritual. And then we get to see signs of his alcoholic future that will be coming any day now. But the real moment we're left of him with is of course that he's going to be the new sort of caretaker, family, parental figure for Jeremy and Elena, as we see him staying at their house in the last episode.
Yeah. And then that brings us to our last big character, who we've already talked about a lot, is Stefan. Stefan's plot for this whole season, other than the last episode, is basically just being a good boyfriend. That's how the season starts off. Elena and Stefan are in a really good spot, but And they do have some ups and downs in the whole season. Catherine makes them break up.
Yeah.
Then they really break up when it all becomes too much. But they eventually get back together at some point mid-season. And then they're very, very solid for the end of, like, the whole rest of the season. And he even starts drinking Elena's blood to sort of, like, start being okay drinking blood. And Stefan sticks by Elena through everything, even through her trying to martyr herself the whole season. And he offers himself in Jenna's place at the sacrifice. So just very, like, best boyfriend award for the season especially goes to Stefan. And then in the last episode, of course, he gives himself over to Klaus to get the cure for a werewolf bite to give to Damon. And Klaus makes him become a Rippah all over again.
Love Rippah Stefan.
I know. I do love Rippah Stefan.
Rippah Stefan next season will be in our next category.
Yes.
We, of course, have the main characters. So, of course, we have to have who's opposed to them, which is the villains.
Of course.
So, of course, we want to talk about the villains for the season. What are their goals? Basically, like, who are they? What are they up to? What are they doing? And, of course, we have to start with Catherine Pierce.
An icon.
She is the first one. She shows up in the season 1 finale, and so of course in 201 she is the big main villain. She is just wreaking havoc seemingly for no reason. It's like, why is she doing this? Like, she's just bored. And she plays it like for a few episodes that she's just there because she wants to be with Stefan. That's like what they think she's all up to. But of course eventually they find out about the ritual, about Klaus, about like her trying to give everyone over to him. They piece all of that together, and they finally get rid of Catherine by putting her into the tomb at the very end of 207, and she stays in there for a while. They're working with her while she's in there. She gets out. They're still working with her. It's tenuous at best. And she reluctantly works with them until 217 when Isabel shows up, and then she's of course captured by Klaus. She's not a villain anymore at that point. She's just trying her best. But she of course brought with her a couple sidekicks throughout that whole plot. One was of course Lucy Bennett, who she brought to the masquerade, and then of course Mason Lockwood.
Yes. We mentioned Mason a little bit talking about Tyler, but Mason comes into town for the mayor's funeral after he dies. And he's sort of the cool surfer uncle at first. He sort of helps Tyler with his anger issues, like I mentioned. But like, of course, it becomes very clear pretty early on that he has supernatural abilities. And then it's, of course, revealed that he's a werewolf. And Damon puts this together. And, of course, he immediately does not trust Mason, even though he doesn't really have a reason not to trust Mason. But Damon starts antagonizing him, like at Jenna's barbecue when they play Pictionary and they, like, kind of neg each other. And Mason like tries to be chill and like tries to talk to Damon and says he's just here for the moonstone, but Damon ends up attacking him and then they interrogate him. It's a whole thing, and eventually Damon kills Mason. So Mason is a pretty short-lived villain.
Unfortunately he is. He only is 201 to 205.
That's even then he's not really a villain that whole time. So
also not a villain the whole time, but is much more long-lived, sort of, is Elijah. Of course, Elijah, our first original on the scene. With the wrap-up of Catherine's villain arc in 207, we immediately get the next arc beginning in 208, and for a second you think it's going to be Rose and Trevor because they kidnap Elena, but you pretty quickly realize like, oh, they're just like doing dirty work for a much bigger problem here, and that is of course the arrival of Elijah, who obviously is the big bad for that part of the story. Although he does strike up a deal with Elena like pretty immediately, it's definitely an uneasy balance. The Salvatores are not in support of it, and he is the main antagonist all the way through to 215, the dinner party, other than the werewolves. But he gets daggered of course at the dinner party, and he gets left in the cellar for a while, and he's of course left there for a while. We'll get to when he comes out and all of that. But he leaves behind his sidekick, Jonas Martin.
Jonas first comes on the scene. We just see that he's Luca's father. But eventually we learn, there's like a little reveal that Luca and Jonas are working with Elijah because Klaus has Jonas's daughter. And that's, they're trying to get her back. But when Elijah is daggered, Jonas really comes into his villain arc, which is just one episode. He's
strong one.
He does tear things up. Jonas sends Luca into the Salvatore house to try to rescue Elijah, and Luca of course is burned alive by Damon. So sad. very sad. Damon doesn't realize he's doing it, of course.
Yeah.
But Jonas obviously goes on a rampage and tries to burn down the grill and kidnap Elena. And Catherine helps out with like a little deception and trying to, not have Elena be kidnapped. And eventually Stefan ends up killing Jonas. Yeah. He's just a villain for that one episode.
Yeah, but it's an intense one. He swings hard when he swings.
Yeah, he does.
Less of a hard swing, less of a good villain, I would say, is of course Jules. Like I already said, during the Elijah villain arc, there's of course Jules and the werewolves. Mm-hmm. She arrives in 211 by the light of the moon looking for Mason and immediately starts stirring up problems with literally every vampire in town. She calls in reinforcements, meaning dozens of werewolves start showing up to town, including Brady and Stevie, who help her kidnap Caroline, which is crazy. And they try to kill Stefan and Damon until she's forced to leave town by Elijah because of the deal in 214. So she returns again, not as a villain in 222, but of course that's when she's killed as the werewolf in the ritual. So she only really gets 3-4 episodes, but kind of feels like a lot more than that.
It feels way longer than that, yeah. And then, of course, that brings us to the biggest bad, Klaus. I needn't say more, but I'll give a little more description than that. Klaus is sort of first mentioned in Rose, the episode. And there's a lot of buildup where no one is really sure, who or what he is, and all of these things. But we know, for a fact that he's trying to break the sun and moon curse, and therefore he wants Elena. So, of course, he kind of is just this amorphous thing that they, keep worrying about throughout most of the season. But then Isabel comes back to town. And by the end of Isabel's little episode in this season, it's very clear that she found Klaus and he compelled her to get for him Catherine, Alaric, so he could use his body, the Moonstone, and the doppelganger. And eventually Klaus comes to town with his witch. Maddox, his witch, puts him in Alaric's body. He causes a little chaos, like we mentioned, in Alaric's body at the dance. He tries to kill Bonnie.
So many things.
Yeah, he does a lot of things. He gets a lot done in Alaric's body, but eventually he gets into his own body. We finally see Joseph Morgan as Klaus. Love that. We see some flashbacks, and then we see Klaus in the present day. And we learn that Klaus is both werewolf and vampire. And the Sun and Moon curse just suppresses Klaus's werewolf side. It's just a curse on Klaus, and that's why he wants to break it so badly. And then the last few episodes are just about Klaus breaking the curse. He, of course, is successful. He kills Jenna, Jules, and Elena.
Oh, yeah. And
Elijah betrays everyone and lets Klaus live. And we see Klaus has all of his siblings in a coffin, eventually including Elijah.
Yep.
Little double crossing there.
Yep.
And then, in the last episode, we see he makes Stefan become his little sidekick boyfriend and makes him become a full Rippah. And then, of course, as mentioned, we see Klaus brought along with him Maddox. Of course, Maddox is a very powerful witch or warlock, if you will.
Whatever the terminology is.
Whatever the term is supposed to be. But Maddox is very, very powerful. And we see him do a lot of, it seems like pretty big spells.
Yeah.
But the most memorable thing that I think of in this season is when Maddox gets Carol to call Tyler. And it almost seems like compulsion. And Carol lures him back to town. And then Maddox flings Carol off the second story onto the staircase railing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maddox is wild.
Yep.
And then we also see Greta comes along with Klaus, and Greta is of course Jonas's daughter that he was trying to save. And Jonas sort of made us think that Klaus had kidnapped Greta, that she was sort of unwillingly working with Klaus. But when we finally meet Greta, she is obsessed with Klaus, almost culty.
Almost as much as I am.
Yeah, same, almost as much as I am. Yeah, she wants to help Klaus create a new world order, all this stuff, which is a very interesting for a witch because she doesn't seem to care about
any of the laws.
Yeah, two big witch things, which are family and the balance of nature.
Yeah.
So, Klaus has some interesting sidekicks, but
oh, for sure, he definitely does.
Yeah.
So with that, listing all of our villains for the season, we of course want to pick our favorite villain. Who is the villain that we liked the best throughout the season? We did this, of course, in season 1. So I feel like you got to go pick because I know who you picked. Because you said in season 1 who you were going to pick.
Yeah, I did say in season 1, which did kind of back me into a corner a little bit. But I do stand by it. I got to go with Catherine just because she is me. That is who I would be as a villain. Let's think about all of the crazy shit she did. She made Stefan and Elena break up. She made Caroline be her little minion. After killing her, she, like, when Stefan got stuck in the tomb with Catherine.
Oh,
that was
yeah.
just
The
one
sex
episode.
dreams.
But yeah, she forced him to have sex dreams about her. She's crazy.
I love her. She's so funny.
Crazy. I love her because she's like, so in a sense, the most unhinged, because
she kind of is.
she's like, yeah, in a weird way. But like, I also love her backstory and the way it's built out in this season, especially.
Yeah.
Like the episode where she reads her family's history book and she's telling Elena all of her family history. I mean, like, top tier episode. I love Catherine Pierce. I'm a Catherine Pierce apologist. She's got to be my favorite. Plus, like I did in season 1, I'm gonna just like push off picking like Klaus or Elijah until season 3.
Yeah,
and I'll just
that they'll get it then.
Keep pushing them off.
Yeah, I did the opposite thing. Obviously, in season 1, I gave it to Catherine, even though she's only in season 1 for like 5 minutes. I was like, ultimately, everything being done in season 1 is all building towards Catherine, and everyone is doing things for Catherine.
True.
And so I took the same logic this season, and I chose Klaus, which I am a Klaus apologist. He's my favorite of all time.
He's great.
I love Klaus. And again, the same logic applies where like Klaus, although he's only in like 5 episodes or 4 episodes this season, he is ultimately like everything's being done in his name. Like Elijah shows up, Rose shows up, all these people, Mason even, and Catherine are all showing up like because of Klaus. So for me, that made him like the pick because I don't know, there's something to like the season building to that person that's like very satisfying, and then he just is like my favorite. I mean, when he shows up in a lark's body, that's iconic. He didn't need to do much, but that was enough for me. I was like, there we go.
Yeah, and then as soon as they show it's Joseph Morgan, I'm like,
oh yeah,
chef's kiss.
And then the flashbacks, like, which we haven't gotten, like you said, like Catherine, like emotional stuff. We don't really know much about him right now. He is a pretty like one-dimensional villain as of season 2. But I don't know. I mean, there's just so much to learn about him that I think like he's one that like you love in season 2 and you're really excited to see in season 3. So
that's true.
That's why I went with Klaus as my favorite. So.
Yeah. I mean, so many good villains to choose from.
There is so many. I could make an argument for literally any of them.
I know. Even Mason. I mean, you know we love Mason.
Yeah. I know. I'd love to pick Elijah too. Yeah. But Klaus is my boy. He's my number 1.
Of course. Yeah. But my number, whatever the last number of villains there is. Yeah. Someone wanted us to also talk about our least favorite villain. But of course, I feel like we don't even need to say it.
Yeah.
It's Jules. I have to assume you have the same least favorite.
Yeah. That I feel like the person, I think they literally said in the prompt of talk about your least favorite villain was, you can just talk about how terrible Jules is. Yeah. She's just such a poorly written character and villain. We don't really know how she feels about anything. We don't really understand her emotions. Like, I don't know. She's so hard to get behind. And like, I think a comment we got on a video also was like, the best villains are fun. Like, people love Klaus and Kai and, like, Damon even when he's a villain in season 1. Like, there's kind of this, like, unhinged, like, fun energy. Catherine, too, is so fun. Jules is in no way, shape, or form fun. She's, like, running her little cult where she's, like, teaching people about, I don't know. It's just not interesting.
She's so, she's so blah. And I feel like none of her like aims really feel like they're worth any of the things she does. Like her killing Rose, like I feel like that leaves a bad taste, and it's, I don't know, it's all to break the curse, I guess. But it,
and she's just like starting this turf war just because like Mason died, but it ends up getting her whole pack killed. Everyone dies. She goes home with Tyler at the cost of her whole pack. Was it worth it, Jules? No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
No.
So she's just so clearly least favorite villain, least favorite character
ever in the whole show, which is saying a lot.
Yeah,
maybe not, but
I was gonna say there might be some like later season characters. I don't know, the heretics.
I know there's some random heretic. The heretic that doesn't speak. I'm like, I guess I'm neutral. I'm neutral to him, so I guess I like him more than Jules.
Yes, I actively dislike.
Yeah.
So that's Jules. That's the villains. Yeah. That'll segue us nicely into the side characters of season 2. Of course, we talked about it so many times throughout the season, how like season 2, one of its best parts is how many great side characters there are. There's so many that are in it for just like a few episodes. So we want to do like a quick roundup of those. Starting off with a few who we've already talked about. Mason, first and foremost.
Yeah, Mason, not much more to say here. He was introduced in the first episode of season 2 when he comes back. And then Damon obviously kills him in Plan B, but we talked about him a little bit, and of course he'll be back. We'll get to see a little bit more of Mason.
Yeah, one thank God we won't be seeing again. Jules, Brady, and Stevie.
Who cares?
Yeah, we mentioned them in the villain section again. They're just werewolves. They're just causing chaos. They're just opposed to everyone, and they just don't really have much of like an interest or storyline other than that. So that's them.
Yeah, another one that we already talked about is Jonas. He sticks around for 6 episodes, and he was killed by Stefan in The House Guest after his little rampage. But yeah, Jonas, not bad.
Yeah, he's trying to save his daughter, which is kind of like a nice element to his story, but it's sad the way it ends. It's
I know.
Just devastating.
His story is pretty sad.
Yeah. Of course, leading us to our sweet summer baby, Luca. I mean, Warlock Luca.
Warlock.
Yes, our Warlock. He arrives as a fellow high school student, of course, in 209, immediately bonding with Bonnie, kind of in competition with Jeremy for her attention, playing pool with them. Unfortunately, obviously, because of these circumstances, he's always like dancing this line of like friend or foe with them. Like he's never able to just like be part of the group, really. So yeah, he is circumstantially, as you mentioned, killed by Damon via flamethrower in 216
sad.
Because of everything that his dad like got him like roped up in. Like it was just circumstance. Like he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time because his dad told him to be there. So.
Wrong place, wrong time. Great segue.
Love that.
The next little side characters, we'll just talk about them together, are Rose and Trevor. Rose and Trevor were, of course, besties for 500 years.
Yeah, I love that for them.
They, because of Trevor, unfortunately stumbled into Catherine and got in her way a little bit. And, of course, they had to go on the run after Catherine turned herself into a vampire. And we talked about them a little bit in, like, the villain section. But Rose is around for 5 episodes. Trevor is around for, like, 2, I think. He comes back
one
in, like,
in a flashback.
Yeah, in the flashback. And, yeah, Trevor, not much to say on Trevor, but Rose, obviously love her. She grows super close to Damon and even Elena a little bit.
Yeah, they have a moment.
Yeah, they have a little moment, some girl talk, which is nice.
And we'll see her again.
Yeah, and we will see Rose again, too. Yeah,
love that.
Yeah.
Someone I wish we got to see again, but we only get one episode out of,
I know.
is, of course, Rose and Trevor introduce us to Slater.
Yeah.
Rose brings Damon to see Slater in 209 Katarina. He's the very smart techie vampire who has all the answers and knows everything. His computer has the password. Kristen Stewart, if you watched our trivia game last week.
Love.
He has 18 degrees, 3 masters, 4 PhDs. It's crazy that he only gets 1 episode because he's just like such a memorable side character to me. I do really like Slater. I think he's a character they could have done a lot more with. So
I know.
He's a fun one.
I know, yeah. All of these characters, I wish they stuck around more.
Yeah.
Someone who did actually make it to the end of the season, but not much longer.
Not for long.
But not much longer. Is Andy Starr, Action News.
Action News.
Oh, I love Andy. We've talked about Andy a lot, of course.
Yeah.
Andy comes on the scene first. Well, first we see her like on the TV as a newscaster.
Yeah.
And we find out she's Jenna's friend when Jenna tries to set her up with Damon. And Damon sort of rejects her at first. But then, of course, Damon can't pass her up. And we see they sort of get together. And he basically compels Andy to keep his secret and let him feed on her. Yeah. So Andy, a lot of highs and lows with Andy. We see Damon's basically abusing her. Not great. But then they have some cute partner in crime moments.
Yeah, they
so it's very
kind of
confusing.
make a great couple, but like he's abusing her, so it's just all around. It's confusing.
It's very confusing, very terrible. And I love Andy. She deserved more. And we'll get to see her again.
Yeah, we'll talk about Andy when we get back to season 3. Amy, Bradley, and Sarah, who we'll never get any more of.
I almost forget about, oh my God, their terrible arc.
Yeah, we first get Amy. We get her a little bit longer in 203, Bad Moon Rising, because she goes to Tyler's swim hole party or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Sarah shows up a little bit later in 205, Kill or Be Killed.
Yep.
Both of them are just like high school friends that like the boys hang out with, mostly like Matt and Tyler and Jeremy, because collective crushes on people. I don't know.
Yeah.
And, they don't really get a story other than just kind of helping along with those stories, because of course in the end they're really just disposable side characters that get killed off specifically because of Catherine.
Yep.
And both of them in 207 at the Masquerade, best friends, live together, die together.
Yeah. Go missing together from the same party. Yeah.
Rough.
Crazy arc for them.
Yeah, truly.
And that brings us, of course, to the one other high schooler recurring little side character we get, Dana. Dana put this season on her back. She's
the star.
She's the star. She's somehow only in 2 episodes, but it feels like so much more. Like when she shows up, she's
she'll
there.
Be around again.
That's true. Yeah, we do see her again too. She's one of few that lives past the finale.
It's Andy and Dana. They're the only ones that made it.
Yeah. But Dana is, of course, like I sort of said, one of the teens' classmates. We see her talking to Matt in 212, I think.
Yeah,
the Descent.
Some carnival thing.
Yeah, she's helping out with whatever the event of the day is in Mystic Falls. And then, of course, she gets compelled by Klaus in the 60s dance episode when she goes and talks to Elena and Bonnie.
Yep, and then announces the dedicated song.
Yeah, it announces,
dance.
Song Klaus dedicates, yeah.
Love Dana,
She's
but
great.
I won't be picking her for my favorite side character this season, maybe next season. But of course, we're going to pick our favorite side character for this season. And I did debate Slater. I was very tempted to go Slater because I really like him. But personally, I had to go with Mason Lockwood.
Ooh, interesting.
He's the character for me above all others that I really wish we got more of.
Yeah.
Like, I love his dynamic with Damon. Like the episode you mentioned before, the Pictionary one where they're drawing, like all the jokes about like wolves and lady killers is so funny. Like, I wish we got more of that. Memory Lane is what that episode was.
Yeah.
I love that. And at the end of the day, I feel bad that he just died as part of Catherine's little disposable boy toy clan. That,
I know.
Like, she's just always getting these men killed for her. Like, I think it would have been nice if he had stuck around and we got like another character who's supernatural but like an adult. And
that's
also
true.
a werewolf. Like, obviously it's such a rare thing to come by, and it would have been interesting to have another werewolf like in the group, and again in the like, adult section of the group. It would have been a nice balance, because also like imagine Mason having to interact with like Elijah or Klaus. Like, I feel like it'd
be pretty good.
They would hate him.
Yeah, they would not like him, but it would be funny.
It would be so iconic to me.
Yeah.
We need the rough and tough werewolf vibes, I think.
That's true, yeah.
I picked him as my favorite, specifically, I guess, because I want more of him, but I do enjoy so much what we got, which is why I want more of him. So
yeah. See, that's fair. I sort of went like almost the opposite direction, where it wasn't based on my favorite side character wasn't based on like wanting them to stick around, because if that was the criteria, I do definitely think it was Mason. And I do think Mason could have been my favorite if he was like integrated into the group a little bit more. Like you said, love his dynamic with Damon.
Yeah, imagine him with Alaric. The three of them could have been real buddies at that
Yes.
bar every night.
Yeah, they would have had a great dynamic. But I had to go with Rose. I think Rose is just so important to Damon's growth and personal development.
Yeah.
And it's not even just based on like her relationship to Damon. I also just love Rose's interactions with Elena that we kind of talked about a little bit.
Yeah.
But also Rose sticking with Trevor for 500 years after he fucked up so badly.
That they were getting hunted.
That they were getting hunted like for their lives. She probably could have made a deal to save herself.
She definitely could have and handed him over.
Yeah, and she never did. So I don't know. I feel like Rose is just, she's a real one.
She is.
And there's just so much I love about her. And almost like in the opposite way of what you were saying.
Yeah.
I feel like the amount that she's there, like
It's
her arc
perfect.
is just perfect. Like,
yeah.
I would change nothing about it probably. I mean, I'd love to have her for more, but
yeah, I agree. She like fully like served a purpose to the story, and that was executed well.
Yeah. Perfect.
That's my problem with Mason. I'm like,
I know.
my boy didn't have to die like that.
He needed more.
He could have had so much more.
And I love the episode where they bring him back in season 3.
So yeah, we will be getting some more of him, and we'll get more of Rose. So thank goodness. They always know who are the faves.
I
so
know.
That's why they come back. And
They
why
do.
Jules never does.
Yeah. Jules. Yeah, they were right to kill her off.
They knew. They knew. Moving on from our favorite side characters to our top 3 performances. We ranked in no particular order 3 performances that we wanted to call out. We of course did this in season 1. One that I just know we both have, obviously, who we both couldn't do in season 1. There just wasn't like a good episode for it, but season 2 is so obvious.
Oh, Absolutely. I
Of
already know
course.
what you're going to say.
Of course.
Yeah.
Ian Somerhalder as Damon, of course. In 212, The Descent.
Yeah.
Enough said. Like,
Yeah,
it's
no.
such a good episode.
It's such a good episode. It shows so much range. 212, The Descent, is obviously the episode where Rose dies.
Yeah.
So we see, you know, Damon in denial. We see very emotional, upset Damon when he actually has to kill Rose.
Mm-hmm.
We see him go back into denial. But then I think when he really delivers the most for me is when he starts spiraling. He goes and does the laying in the road trick.
Yeah.
And he sort of lures Jessica to stop, get out of her car, and he gives Jessica the whole spiel. I won't say it again, but
We've said it so
even
many
though
times
I
this
think I can
season.
recite it. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure I did in that episode.
Yeah. You did.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, Damon just starts talking at Jessica about how he wants to be human. It's this huge secret. He doesn't like living like this.
Yeah.
And Elena he can't be what she wants him to be.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, it's definitely the combo for me. I love that last scene of like the crack like coming undone basically.
Yes.
But I also do really love the like giving Rose peace and taking her into the dream and then also having to kill her.
Yes.
Yeah, and then also we get the point too where it's like you said, there's the denial part, but then there's also like the going into action and taking care of business. Like I have to go collect her. He takes her body to Liz in that episode and like shows her the body and like all of these emotions. That's so many emotions to have to deal with, and he's playing them all perfectly. Like it just reads so well. I cry every time I watch that episode. Like,
Same.
I feel so much for Damon in that episode. I think it's a big turning point for his character and for how people feel about him. So yeah, it's just so obvious that Ian gets like a top performer of the season because of that episode.
Yeah.
He doesn't get those layers in season 1 really, so it's nice that in season 2 they give him that solid episode.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
From here, I'm sure we're gonna just converge and have completely different people.
Yeah, probably.
So I don't know where we want to start, but I'll go with like another person who to me felt like an obvious like. They don't get a lot in season 1. They're kind of like a one-note thing. And then in season 2, they really get to stand out.
Yeah.
And for me, that was Candace Akela as Caroline. And I went specifically with 202 Brave New World, which is, of course, the episode where she turns into a vampire.
Yeah.
She wakes up in the hospital in transition. And we see this, like, it's kind of like Damon with the range throughout this episode where, like, we see her, like, kind of change and she's confused and she's scared. But then she gets really confident and she, like, feeds on the nurse and is, like, kind of rocking it. And then she goes to the school and beats up Damon and has her girl power moment. And then she, like, accidentally kills someone and freaks out. And, like, then Stefan's there taking care of her. And, like, they kind of have this moment. And she's very vulnerable and, like, she's very confused and she's very distressed. And, like, so many emotions are going through her in that episode. And she plays them really well. And I just felt like that was like, again, range we did not get to see from Caroline in season 1.
Agreed.
And so they gave Candace this like really like fat dream of an episode and she like ran with it. It was a great episode for her.
Yeah, no, I'm glad they gave her that episode when they gave her some terrible product placement episodes.
They gotta balance it out.
Yeah, that is a really good episode. One of my favorite performances, probably like top of the whole series.
Yeah.
Love. I mean, we all talk about how Nina Dobrev kills it as both Elena and Catherine, of course. And honestly, any episode where she plays both is a feat because I could never. Like, I couldn't play one, let alone playing two people. And I think, like, her abilities, like, her acting abilities really shine in season 2, episode 9, Katerina, where Elena goes to the tomb, when Catherine's, of course, in the tomb, and Elena and Catherine just talk to each other for the whole episode. Like, I can't even imagine doing that. But then, like, they're having a whole back and forth. That, you know, they're showing a lot of range. Like, I mean, Elena and Catherine are very different people, like, inherently.
Yeah.
But then in the last scene of that episode, Catherine is reading the book, the Petrova book that Elena brings to her. And Catherine starts tearing up reading the book.
Yeah.
And I think that just adds so much to Catherine's character.
Yeah.
I mean,
because the tears also like don't spill over.
Yes,
it just wells
it's just
up
like
and,
the
like,
glassy
sits.
eye. Yeah,
very impressive. That's hard to do.
Very impressive. Yeah, it's just such a humanizing moment for Catherine, who I feel like up until this moment, like, you know, we're just like, oh, she's crazy, like she's whatever. But this is such like a huge moment, and Nina does like an amazing job with it. I think.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
On top of that, she's probably working like an 80-hour work week just
exactly.
to have to film 2 characters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the whole episode in and of itself is already amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then she's doing literal 2 characters who are the star of the whole episode.
Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy. That's a great one. Nina always deserves a shout out for playing multiple
characters. Yeah, and yeah, she'll get even more throughout the series. So
I think she gets another one next season. So yeah, it's always happening for her. For me, I of course always my bias is the originals, and I had to shout out an original.
Fair.
I debated for a little bit which I was going to do because there's kind of 3 options here. But I decided to go with Daniel Gillies as Elijah, and I decided to go with 208 Rose, his first appearance.
I mean, he changes the entire tone of the of the whole show. Yeah,
he changes the entire tone of the entire series. Like he sets the show on a trajectory that like starts a spinoff, basically.
Yeah, like, literally.
Because he's the first that shows up, and like I love that he, as the first original we see, sets that tone, and then like the things that he does in this episode, the things that he chooses. I feel like really carry throughout his character specifically, but then also the family as they all start to show up in the next season in season 3. So I just love Elijah. I think like Daniel deserves more credit for being the one who really like got the ball rolling, like really got this all started. So I love it. I love the choices he made, the way he made himself feel like old-timey in a way, like very elegant and slick, but also terrifying. Like he plays that all so well, and there are things that all of the originals kind of have. And like, of course, if you watch Daniel in this, like his first episode and like his last episode in the originals, like Elijah changes a lot. He plays him in different ways, but there's pieces of that like stay the same that I just think it's fantastic. I think he's a great actor, and so I went with Elijah.
Yeah, no. Elijah should get it. Daniel Gillies should get it for, like, just all of Vampire Diaries and all of originals.
I love Elijah.
I love him so much. Yeah, and for my final pick of just, like, general top 3 performances, I went more a silly, goofy route because I was like, this is just so fun for this character. I had to go with Matt Davis as Reclaus. And also, let's be real, I just wanted a chance to say Reclaus.
Yeah, we had to do it.
Had to do it.
Now that we know.
Yeah. But, you know, we talk a lot about, like, range in these favorite performances.
Yeah.
This was just such a new avenue for Matt Davis to go down.
So different than Alaric.
So different than Alaric. A little different than, like, actual Klaus, like we talked about in The Last Dance, that episode. But I still think it works really well, and it works because it's so different than Alaric.
Yeah, it does.
That it's just so fun. I mean, come on, who doesn't love the 60s dance episode? It's like one of the best episodes.
It is one of the best.
Yeah, Matt Davis really delivers with Reclaus, I have to say.
Yeah, I think he does great. And like I said, it's like it felt like you need an original in there, and it is between like Matt as Klaus, Joseph as Klaus, or Daniel. Like all 3 of them could just be the 3 shout outs for like top performance. All of them are so good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that you gave it to Reclaus.
Yeah, I love Reclaus.
We never get him back. We'll get
I know.
Ty Klaus.
Ty Klaus.
Someone's gonna have to start working on that for us.
Someone start working on it and comment. Yeah.
You've got a season to go.
Yeah. Almost forgot about Ty Klaus.
Yeah. We've got a name to workshop that.
Klyler.
We got time.
We'll get there.
We got time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that.
But yeah.
So for now, we've got to pick our favorite arc of season 2. So like we define that as just like 3 episodes. If you're going to sit down and watch 3 episodes back to back, what 3 episodes would they be?
Yeah.
Because it's too confusing to pick an arc that's like the Moonstone arc. I don't know. They all bleed together.
Yeah.
So instead, like what 3 back-to-back episodes would you choose? And I mean, I feel like this season is like the most obvious season in terms of what the pick is. Like, sure, there's some great episodes, like we just said, like The Last Dance, 218. Like, there's definitely some that are like, they're really good. Like, I could lean that way. However, it felt like the choice was obvious.
I think so too, yeah.
And then it's funny because one of the episodes in there is maybe more questionable, but we showed our bias strong for this episode this year.
Okay, we definitely have the same thing then, because when I was picking this arc, I was like, I think it has to include 2 of these episodes for obvious reasons. I mean, we already talked about it, so like, I can probably guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like it's the last, like either the first or the third episode would be a little questionable.
Yeah, and of course the obvious episodes are 207, The Masquerade,
of course,
and 208, Rose.
I mean, come on.
They're such standouts of this this series. Masquerade is an iconic event.
Yeah.
It's an iconic episode. Catherine wreaking havoc and eating strawberries. Like, it's such a vibe. The mask.
Stefferin. Yes. Oh my God. Yeah.
It's such a good, and even Caroline in that episode is like fantastic.
That's a really good Caroline episode. Yeah.
And I love like the trick of like Elena like getting like, you know, bleeding because Catherine's getting attacked. And then wham, right into like Rose, and Elena gets kidnapped. We meet Elijah, we meet Rose, we meet Trevor. Like, it's such a fantastic episode. You can go back to both of those episodes and see what we said about them at the time, because they're just so fantastic.
Yeah, even a little road trip in Rose.
Yes.
Love.
Yeah, the brothers.
Yeah.
And so then it becomes the question of, do you do 206 or do you do 209? 209 is, of course, Katerina, her flashback episode of her whole story, which is, of course, a really solid contender. You can really go either way. But I went, and I feel like we probably both went, 206 Plan B.
Yes.
We were both so shocked this time about how much we liked it. This is, of course, the episode when Mason dies. He gets kidnapped. They find out where the Moonstone is, and then they kill him. They being Damon.
They being Damon. Jeremy's kind of along for the ride a little bit. This
actually.
Is, like I mentioned at the top of the episode, like, this is when Jeremy's kind of trying to be with David and partner up with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. There's something about watching like a random episode of a show you love, you've watched hundreds of times, you have a podcast about, and still being like pleasantly surprised by like a sleeper hit episode. Yeah. Like, I don't know. When we were doing Plan B, when we were, you know, getting ready to watch it and record the episode for it, I was like, oh, whatever, like blah, blah, blah. Like, let's just get to Masquerade. Yeah. But then I was like, wait a minute. Plan B, actually amazing episode. Yeah. You have Matt and Tyler talking, Matt being insane, talking about Caroline. I forgot about this. Tyler says his line that you all know we love, Caroline being an insecure, neurotic, bitchy little twit.
My favorite line.
Mason is around. It's his last episode, obviously. He gets killed. Yeah. Tighten Up by the Black Keys, please. Yeah, a lot of good quotes. Catherine's Plan B quote.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Plan B, Plan C, Plan D. Yeah, you know how the alphabet goes.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So many good things about Plan B, episode 6. That it just outweighs Katerina for me.
Yeah, and maybe it is a bias of this watch. Maybe we'll watch it again in a year or two and be like, actually, it's Katerina. But I don't know. Right now, I feel really strongly about 206, 207, 208 is the best 3-run arc in season 2. Yeah. If you're only going to watch 3 episodes because of this. Go watch those 3.
Go watch those 3. Yeah, I'm pretty confident in that one. I mean, Katerina's a flashback episode, which I feel like when you're rewatching.
Yeah, we've talked about this maybe a few times, that like the rewatches of flashbacks are just not as like rewarding, because it's all about getting information when we already know it.
Yeah,
so, like,
exactly.
It's not as fun.
Yeah.
Although I do think, of course, Nina brings so much emotion to that one that like kind of makes it worth it. But yeah, so those are our favorite 3 episode favorite arc. So with that, we of course want to talk about maybe the less favorite.
Yep.
What would we be doing differently if we were in the writer's room for season 2? Yeah. We were asked this on Instagram by a couple of you. Basically, like, what are some plot lines we would add or remove? What are some changes that we would make to the series?
Yeah.
The season.
Yeah, I'll give one. I think we're all on the same page. I don't know how you could stand to listen to this podcast if you weren't on the same page. But one that I would do is, like a plot line that I would change is just Jules. Yeah. I wouldn't get rid of Jules, because I do kind of like, you know, having werewolves, like you said about Mason, like having adult werewolves. Yeah. There's something about that. But I would make Jules a better villain. Like, I would just make her more fun, or make her, I don't know, you don't even have to do more fun. Like, you can go more empathetic, or just more unhinged. Evil. I don't know. Yeah, more evil. Like,
she
anything.
Just needs to go harder one way or the other.
Any way. Yeah, any way you take her, I think could work. But yeah, I don't know. She's just not. She doesn't do it for me.
I agree. She's definitely just like, like we said before, it's like you have to be fun or you have to be unhinged. Like, you have to go one way or the other. It doesn't work if you don't.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good thing to call out, is changing around Jules.
Yeah.
So I guess like one of the things I would change is justice for my boy Luca.
Oh, Luca, of course. Yeah.
I really would have appreciated like more of a plot of Luca.
I
like,
know.
I don't know. Give him a chance to defy his father. Give him a chance to like join up with Bonnie and Jeremy and to like help the team. Like, give him a chance to like see how they treat him, to see how he feels about all of this. Like, I don't know, does he support what his dad is doing? What's his relationship like with his sister? Like,
Yeah.
I would have loved to have gotten like something out of Luca before he
Agreed.
just died. And maybe part of that was like a strategy to like make it more tragic so that like he dies with very little.
I guess. I don't know. Think about how much more impactful it would be if Luca was
cared.
like part of the group. He told them all about his, like, he really opened up to Bonnie and told her about his sister, how close they were.
Yeah.
I don't know. I agree. Luca's just kind of like Jonas's minion, which is
I know.
sad because he's his son. It's like,
Yeah.
feels like he should have more.
Yeah, if there had just been like some hint right before he died, that would have really made it so much more tragic to be like, oh my God.
Yeah, even if they played up the Bonnie Luca romance more.
That's true.
Anything.
I know, because that didn't work because she was like already with Jeremy a little bit, so it just didn't make sense ever.
No.
So yeah, that's the first thing I would change is like build out Luca more. He needs a little bit more of a plot for me.
Agreed. You said justice for Luca. That teased me to my next one. Justice for Jenna.
Justice for Jenna.
Listen to the whole season of the Rippah Diaries if you want to know more about justice for Jenna.
Yeah, it's a campaign we're running.
Yeah, truly my campaign. Like we had to like retcon all of Jenna's plot line.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have told Jenna about everything, like all of the supernatural stuff, so much earlier. I just think it would have been so much more interesting plot-wise if Jenna was a little bit more involved and it didn't feel so rushed at the end to get her to just be like, oh, it's okay, Rick, that you lied to me about all this stuff. Like, I'm just happy you're okay.
Yeah, it starts to become ridiculous in like 217. I think it is when Isabel shows up that they still don't tell Jenna. It just like doesn't make sense. It's fine to pull it out for a while because like you just kind of have to at some point. But yeah, it gets to a point where it's just like you're still not going to tell her. And again, maybe the logic is like it makes it more tragic in a way, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know if that's an enjoyable tragedy for me personally.
No, I don't think so. And I think you can still have tragedy, again, sort of like Luca, where it's like if Jenna, we see in like one of her last episodes, she's, she comes out with the crossbow. She's ready to come out swinging. I feel like that could have been fun to have Jenna be like, okay, I'm fully in the group. Like, let me be a bigger part of this. And then she dies. I don't know. I feel like that's so much more sad.
And they only really needed to do it for like a few more episodes. Again, like when Isabel showed up, if they just folded her in there, I don't know. I would have appreciated a little bit more with Jenna.
Yeah. I mean, if we're getting to the point where Matt Donovan and Liz Forbes know the truth, let's just get Jenna on. Yeah. I mean, no one knew Matt and Liz knew, but still.
Speaking of Liz and knowing about the vampire thing, something I would definitely do is like raise the stakes on the Caroline Liz storyline.
Yeah.
Because like we talked about this in the finale, how like Caroline just kind of comes off selfish, like how she's just obsessed over her mom and Matt knowing everything going on and about her like being a vampire. And like we talked about this, it's not even Caroline's fault in a way because it just like, I don't know, it just feels like they needed to give some more stakes to where like it was raised on Liz's side because Carol went to her and was like, you have to kill the vampires or you're losing your job. Yeah. Which is why she went into motivation. But there's no like motivation on Caroline's side why she cares, because in 205 we saw Liz find out that Caroline was a vampire and she like got over it.
And she just like didn't care. Yeah.
She was upset at first, but then after like a day of talking, she was like, I want to know this about you. And Caroline still took it away. So I'm like, I don't really get why the stakes were so high, or they weren't high. They were not high at all, but like Caroline acted like they were so high. Like it was the biggest problem ever. Yeah. When realistically, like, and again, part of it is rewatchers where we're like, we already know this pans into nothing. It doesn't matter at all. So I don't know. That's something I would change where I'm like, they just needed to raise the stakes on that. So it actually like mattered that Liz had found out.
I know. It's even the like Liz might lose her job as head of the council or whatever. First of all, Carol can't control if she's sheriff. So like,
second of all, Carol's son is a werewolf. So
like, also, it feels kind of like phoned in when Carol's like, if you don't do this, like I'll start taking matters into my own hands. Yeah. Okay, go for it, Carol.
Carol, good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
Which
honestly,
actually we will see how she takes things into her hands.
Okay.
I forgot that too. It's been a minute since we watched season 3.
Which will make it that much sweeter.
But yes, so she will take it in her own hands. We'll see how that goes. Yeah. Which kind of brings us nicely into our favorite plot twist. Yeah. Because that turns into a bit of a plot twist for a second.
Yeah, that's true.
But for season 2, there's just so many plot twists throughout the season. Like, Catherine turns Caroline at the start of the season, which is shocking.
Yep.
Jenna ends up getting turned into a vampire to be used in the ritual.
Yep.
Elijah doesn't end up killing Klaus at the ritual.
Yeah.
He like saves him. Klaus stakes Elijah after that. Like, it's just like a season where it's like plot twist after plot twist after plot twist. So there's so many good ones to choose from. The episode I keep bringing up, my favorite plot twist is in 208. Of course, my favorite plot twists are always in 208. Everything's in 208 for me. And it's, of course, when Damon literally kills Elijah, he stakes him with a wooden, like, co-rack or something that's there. I don't know. And we see Elijah die. And then hours later, we cut back and we see Elijah come back to life and pull the stake out of himself.
Yeah.
That, to me, was, like, the biggest game changer for the show of, like, oh my gosh, we have introduced characters who can't be killed. They can't die.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a big thing on the show. Obviously, like, they're going to deal with that all of season 3. They're going to deal with that
throughout
season
the originals.
4. All of the originals. Like, these guys can't die. Like, that is a huge hurdle to have to get over constantly.
That's
for the
true.
characters, for the writers, for the viewers.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the biggest plot twist to me, like where it was, or not even the biggest, but my favorite, where it was just like, wow, that really has such ripple effects on the show at large.
Yeah, that's a good one. I do really like that. I went in a slightly different direction. Mine was just like, for the whole season, we're building up to this sun and moon curse, breaking this curse. So of course I went with, the curse is fake.
Yeah,
it's
that's a wild one.
Just a curse on Klaus. Like, first of all, I love the episode where Elena and Elijah just talk, basically, the whole episode.
Yeah, 219.
Yeah, and I just remember Elijah making this reveal and my mind being absolutely blown. Because also, in a way, I feel like this sort of defies what we know about vampires so far. It's like,
yeah, it does.
We didn't know there was even a thing as a hybrid and like that it could exist. And also that the hybrids can create more hybrids.
Yeah.
And it kind of spurs all of this other stuff. But I don't know, just the curse being fake, that's what like all of the werewolves, all of the vampires they're sort of building toward.
Yeah.
It's Jules' whole plot is trying to break this curse.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the reason Catherine was turned into a vampire and then ends up getting to, you know, eventually down the line turn Stefan and Damon. Like, it is this huge ripple effect that is like, actually just, it's because Klaus wants gold eyes and slightly sharper teeth, if you've seen our Instagram post.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I even, like, to this day, watching this episode, I get such a kick of the flashback where Klaus and Elijah are talking about, like, how they've planted this story in all these different cultures with, like, hieroglyphs and cave paintings and all this stuff.
I love
it's
that
just funny.
line. Yeah,
it's
they're
so
like,
funny.
any culture or continent we could plant it on, we did.
We did. Yeah.
And they did.
They did.
Yeah, it is so funny.
Yeah.
That's a great one. It's obviously, like, probably
Love
the
them.
most iconic plot twist of season 2. It is a shock the first time you watch it. Still, even to this day, I'm like, it's fake. I can't believe it.
How did they pull this off? Yeah.
Really, it is crazy.
Yeah. A lot of plot twists in this season. So many good ones, like you already covered, but even more great Delena moments and Stelena moments.
I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna say both the tropes. Last year we did last season.
Yeah.
We did like a roundup of all the couples, all the like our favorite couple. But like it's too complicated this season.
Also,
there's too many going on.
What am I gonna say? Matt and Caroline?
Yeah, they're so boring.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, so instead we're just gonna keep doing the favorite Delena, favorite Stelena.
Of course.
Because let's be real, there's no other favorite couples at this point. Those are the only two.
Yeah.
So starting out with favorite Delena though, and also giving an honorable mention. I'll go first with my honorable mention. It was very like a small little moment that I just thought was cute. It was in 218, The Last Dance, when Damon and Elena start dancing together. Stefan like hands her off so he can go talk to Caroline. And that episode has a lot of like really intense Delena moments, like obviously the slap, the like there's so much happening in that one. But I just really appreciate when they start dancing together and like she's so stressed. Klaus is there to like kill her. And Damon's just like, so what? Like, let's dance. Like, who cares? And he makes her laugh and she like looks like she's really having like a good time when she's dancing with him. And to me that was like I don't know, just like a standout moment in the season where it was just like, that's why they work. That's why they're good together, is in this really stressful, dangerous situation. He can make her forget about it and laugh. That's like, that's like what you want in a relationship. That's what I want in a relationship.
Yeah, that's a really good one. For my honorable mention for favorite Delena moment, I went with when Elena hugs Damon after Rose dies.
You love a hug.
I do love a good hug. I do love a good hug. I actually almost went with a hug for Stelena too.
I love it. Of course you did.
But I'm deciding on a last minute change right now as I speak.
Oh, okay.
So I don't have another hug. But yeah, when Elena hugs Damon after Rose dies, and Elena tries to talk to Damon, and she says, you know, Damon, I'm your friend. Like, I know when my friend is hurting. I don't know. I feel like that's such a good...
Yeah.
We talked about this in the season 1 recap. It's such a good platonic moment that really... I don't know. It's nice to see them have, like, these moments where... I don't know. They're just not even romantic moments. They're just a strong moment for the two of them together.
Yeah,
even
build
as
the
friends.
friendship. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. I think that is like a memorable... I think it's like a standout moment for them of really like understanding and feeling for her to him more so. But that's of course really important that she's there for him in that moment.
Yeah.
So that's a cute one.
Yeah, I really like them together. But then of course, for my winner of favorite Delena moment, I have to go with Damon and Elena in bed in the season 2 finale.
Of course.
I love everything about that scene. Obviously, Elena and Damon have their first kiss. It's iconic. It's so like game changing. Like to think that Elena is actually now willing to kiss him when, like I said, in the season premiere, she was like, I would never kiss you. I would never do that.
Yeah.
And then somehow Damon found his way into her heart.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We might be hearing that soon.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah. I do love that one. It is such a culmination of, like, their journey throughout the season.
Yeah.
Because at the start of the season, they, like, hate each other.
She
She
kills
hates him.
Jeremy.
She hates him. He kills Jeremy.
Yeah, he would never hate her, but yeah.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's so funny. I feel like you chose two where it was like her showing compassion to him.
Yeah.
A moment where he was dying, a moment where he just lost somebody.
Yeah,
I kind of went the opposite way in a way because, of course, my first one was him, you know, kind of showing fun to her, trying to be like lighthearted to her. And then my favorite is also kind of a him to her moment. And it's, of course, again, always this episode for me, 208 Rose, when Damon tells Elena that he loves her and then he compels her to forget.
Yes. Okay, that's iconic.
That's
too.
an iconic one, and he's crying while he does it. And I have to read the whole quote. I'm sorry, I'm gonna do it.
Yes,
but it was weeks ago now for us.
Yeah.
So he says to her, "No, I just have to say it once. You just need to hear it. I love you, Elena, and it's because I love you that I can't be selfish with you. Why you can't know this? I don't deserve you, but my brother does. God, I wish you didn't have to forget this, but you do."
And then the single tear.
Yeah, and the single tear.
It's so good.
Everything about this scene I love. I don't know. There's something to me. This moment is so beautiful. Of like, I don't know how he has to like tell this to her, even if like she can't know, and even if it is like him being selfish and just being like, I just love you so much. I have to say it. I have to get it out of me. Like I have to put this love somewhere, even if I have to like hide it and take it away from you.
Yeah.
I just really appreciate that, and of course, it's only sweetened by the fact that we will, of course, get to see this again.
See,
in season 4.
I thought about picking this scene too, but I'm doing the same thing I do with favorite villain. I'm like
planning.
I'll do it in season 4. I'll get it in season 4.
Rachel's already bookmarked all the way out to 8. What's gonna be her favorite season?
Yeah, don't come in with any favorites through season 7. I already know all of them. Yeah, no, I do love that scene though. It's so good, and it only gets better the second time we see it.
Yeah, because when she gets to remember it, it really changes her perception of him and their relationship. I think so. Yeah, I just love that scene, and I'm really excited when we get it again. So I'm picking it already. Yeah.
Oh, not that many like really good Delena moments, but
rough season.
Those
for
that
them.
were there, they were so good.
Strong.
Yeah. Sort of the opposite.
Yeah, lots of like good Stelena moments.
I know. I almost had a hard time picking Stelena moments because, again, it's like the Damon moments. They're so iconic. The necklace.
Yeah.
And
they're few
like
and
before
far
he
between,
dies. Yeah.
You know, like it's like they don't get along for so much of the season that like not every episode has a good Delena moment.
No, a lot of them have bad Delena moments.
Most of them do. But then Stelena, like you said at the start of Stefan, like this is his boyfriend season. Like, they give us all the good Stelena moments because we're of course building a season 3 where there will be no good Stelena moments really.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So I'll give my first like quick honorable mention for Stelena. I debated for a long time. There's so many good like contenders, but I'm gonna go with 220 The Last Day for Stelena's honorable mention.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I just think that hike for them like does a lot for the relationship. It's something that we've kind of been harping on since they got together.
Yeah.
About, like, how can they not talk about the reality of their situation? How can they not acknowledge that like he's a vampire and like she's human? If she just keeps aging, they can't be together. Like, what does that mean? Does she want to be a vampire? They're of course forced to talk about that because Damon, again, bad Delena moment. He gives her blood unwillingly, and now she's going to be a vampire. They think.
Yeah.
But it does finally force them to like confront a lot of that, and I really appreciated that scene. And of course, the cinematography, it's so beautiful with the sunset.
Yeah.
So I really liked that scene.
Yeah. I went almost in like an opposite direction in a lot of ways. For my honorable mention, I'm going to go with just the whole episode where Stefan and Elena are at Elena's family's lake house.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah. It's sort of different from what you were saying because they're sort of pretending at like being adults and that nothing is wrong and all of these things.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit like, they're in denial, but I think it's really good because it gives us a glimpse of like what Stelena could be if they were unburdened by all of this supernatural stuff, like Catherine, Damon, all of this stuff. And it's like they're pretending in a lot of ways, but it's very cute. And I do love like so many visual moments, like you were saying, like them standing on the dock with the blanket wrapped around Elena.
Yeah.
Elena does the playful thing where she pretends Stefan hasn't been invited in and she can't invite him in.
Yeah.
I don't know. And she watches him like making dinner while she has a glass of wine.
Yeah, so domestic of them.
So domestic. And I don't know. I really like it. It shows us what they could have been.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That all of that logic actually fits for my like obvious number one Stelena. You already know what it is.
I know.
You
said it.
Moment.
I figured this would be it.
I hyped this up so hard in this episode because I just love this moment.
It's so good.
I think it's like the happiest moment that Stelena ever get. Like
honestly, yeah.
And it's probably my favorite Stelena moment other than what's coming in 301.
Stop. Don't make me cry.
We won't go there yet. Yeah. For now, we're going all the way back to 202, Brave New World.
Yes.
That is my favorite Stelena moment. At the very end of the episode, the carnival has went terribly. Caroline killed a man and is now a vampire.
Yeah.
And everything about the day didn't happen the way it was supposed to. Elena wanted one normal day without Damon because he'd killed Jeremy and she was pissed at him.
Yeah.
And she just wanted her boyfriend to take her to the top of the Ferris wheel and give her a kiss. And that, of course, didn't get to happen. And so at the end, Stefan comes, wakes her up out of bed at like dawn and takes her back to the Ferris wheel. Vamp jumps her to the top. Yeah. And they sit on top of the Ferris wheel. And she's giggling, she's laughing, and he's just looking at her so lovingly while she's giggling, and she asks what, and he says, "It's just so nice to see you laugh," which is the sweetest thing. Like, imagine someone saying that to you, and then they kiss, and it's just a very cute moment, which they of course immediately ruin because there's all the drama of what's about to happen. But it's so beautiful, and like they play All This Time by One Republic during that scene, and I really like that song. I debated putting it in my best songs of the season because I like the moment so much, and I do like the song for like, it's the vibes of the year, and like there's something very sweet about it that I think fits really well. And I don't know, I rewatched it like to talk about it for this, and I was like tearing up. I was like, this is so beautiful. Like this scene makes me want to ship Stelena more than Delena in a way. Like if this is how they were all the time, it might be harder to choose. Yeah. It's just so beautiful.
That's fair. I did almost actually go with that as my honorable mention, but I knew you were going to pick it for at least one of your honorable mention or top.
Yeah,
so
I love it.
I figured I'd go with a different choice.
Fair. We got to cover all the bases.
Yeah. For my favorite Stelena moment, again, there were so many. This was really hard to choose. I actually went with a moment that's not as much about Stefan and Elena, but in a way just shows like how good of a boyfriend Stefan is. It's a very Stefan moment. When Stefan takes Elena and Bonnie over to Caroline's for them to slumber it, if you will. And they have a little moment, and then Elena and Caroline and Bonnie all hug and they mouth "I love you" to each other. I don't know. There's just something so sweet about
it's so sweet.
Stefan showing this level of support for Caroline, who he's befriended independently of Elena, and then like just supporting Elena in this way and being like, you need time with the girls, like you do this, like I don't know, it's just very sweet. It's a good Stefan moment.
Sweet. I'm glad you said that because I did also debate it because it is so sweet.
It's so good.
And then like, doesn't she hug when she's hugging the girls and she looks at him and the "I love you"?
Yeah,
like, they're so.
It's so sweet. Yeah.
And I agree with the logic of like I love it because he's just such a good boyfriend.
He is,
Which, going back to 202, he helps Caroline in that one, cleaning her up after she's, like, killed the guy. And like,
yes. If we had, like, favorite character moments, I think that's one of my favorite Stefan moments when he helps Caroline.
They give him so many good moments in season 2.
I know.
He's going to get no more good ones for a really long time. So, yeah, glad we got a lot of good Stefan because he's
we
not
really
coming
did.
back.
I mean, I love Stefan more in season 3.
I mean, I do too, but like he's not good, objectively speaking.
He's not good. Yeah.
Speaking of some good Stefan moments, he's going to make some big appearances in this next category. We're doing the death roundup of the season.
Yep.
All of the people have died. So for starters, we're going to do a little original daggering recap.
Right.
Because, of course, we didn't count these in the season as actual daggerings. We determined they were more like a little nap.
Yeah.
It's not like dying per se. Of course, Elijah was the only original around to be daggered. Klaus can't be daggered. So Elijah was daggered in 2:15 by Alaric at the dinner party.
Yep.
But Alaric immediately removes it, not knowing that it has to stay in. So then in 2:15 at the very end, Elena ends up having to re-dagger him at the lake house. And he stays daggered until, again, 2:19 when Elena pulls out the dagger so that she can talk to him and get more info about Klaus. And then, of course, he stays undaggered to help them with killing Klaus until Klaus daggers Elijah in 2:22 in the finale. And Elijah's going to stay that way till 3:12. So,
oh my God, it's that long?
Yes.
That is so long.
Yeah, Klaus is brutal about the daggerings. In one way, that's so short.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess Rebecca is daggered like
100 years.
The 20s,
yeah.
So
90 years. So, yeah.
So Elijah gets off easy.
Yeah, just a quick little nap for him. So that's our original daggerings. For the actual deaths, we counted 56 deaths this season and 15 different killers. So we've got a lot of people to go through. And we'll start off with our like one-off killers.
Yeah, a lot of people just kind of killed one person, either, circumstance had to, a few other,
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of reasons to kill someone. First, we have Trevor. He fed on the compelled man that kidnapped Elena and killed the compelled guy.
Yeah.
And then Stevie also stabbed Alaric and killed Alaric, but Alaric, of course, came back because he had the ring.
Yep.
And then Liz shoots Jeremy. What a dramatic shift. We have all the supernatural deaths. Alaric comes back. No, Liz just shoots Jeremy.
Literally killed him.
Yep. Yeah, while on the job. Okay, Liz. And then we have Isabel. She feeds on John or like throws him over the stairs. It's a little bit ambiguous how Isabel kills John.
Somewhere in there.
In 2:17.
Yeah.
But he also comes back because of the ring. And of course, speaking of John, John does actually finally die when he sacrifices himself for Elena. So sort of like magic was the cause of death. Sort of like Graham's in
I was
season
gonna say
1.
magic always gets one of them.
Yeah, it always gets
somebody.
Yeah.
And then a couple more one-offs. Mason Lockwood, of course, we see in a flashback he kills his friend Jimmy, who is compelled by Catherine to get himself killed in order to trigger his curse.
Yep.
In 205. And then again, same exact thing. Tyler Lockwood kills Sarah, who again was compelled by Catherine to get herself killed to trigger the curse in 207, The Masquerade. So I think we should count both of those towards Catherine.
Pretty much count toward Catherine.
So I think we're giving Catherine like a 5 count because she gets the bonus 2 from the Lockwoods. She, of course, smothered Caroline Forbes with a pillow, turning her into a vampire in 201. And then we have
so much.
She's insane. And then we have the literal murder on the dance floor of Amy Bradley in 207.
Yep.
And then of course the self-killing to become a vampire in 219. Or is it
209 is when we see it.
209 is when we see the flashback in the 1400s when she turned herself. So 5 for Catherine. Numbers are going up here.
Yeah, definitely increasing. Back with just 2 kills. We have Caroline. She kills Bonnie's carnival crush in Brave New World episode 2. She feeds on him until he dies. And then she also kills the deputy when she saves Damon and Stefan after Liz finds out and sort of takes them down into the Lockwood cellar. She kills one of the deputies. We sort of split these deaths up because I wasn't totally sure.
Yeah, because Damon feeds on the ones. We gave one to Damon. Caroline, I think she uses the guy as a shield with the bullets. Yeah, I think that's the one we gave her.
Yeah, not as clear. Yeah. Then we have Rose. She kills 4 people. When she's bit by Jules. She obviously is hallucinating, not doing well. She's tripping. And she feeds on the janitor, like a person who works at whatever carnival is going on that day.
Again.
Whatever event it is.
Yeah.
And then she also feeds on the couple that was at that fair.
Yep.
And then back in the 1400s, we see in the flashback that she accidentally kills the older woman that seems like owned the house that she and Trevor were staying in.
Yeah.
You know, Catherine also uses her as kind
like
of
a body shield. So again, maybe Catherine's at 6 at this point.
Yeah, Catherine has a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, in a sense, she's responsible for Trevor's death. Yeah. So
that's true. We only see 3 kills, but 6 at least already are really her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then taking us back to Jules, like you mentioned, Jules we see actually kill 4 campers in a mass murder, which actually I guess we don't see. We just see her wake up at like being like, I did that. Oops.
Yeah. Oopsies.
In 212. And then, of course, a park ranger quickly finds her and she actually kills him on screen, like bludgeoning him or something.
Yeah.
And then setting all their bodies aflame in 212. So she's crazy. Then, shockingly, getting into our like the big 4 kills, Klaus Michelson, we only are counting as a 5, but also like a little side note of Catherine's whole village.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
He's kind of probably the top.
Yeah, the number's an infinity sign. We don't know.
Yeah.
But we only do see 5 deaths. Of course, before he even arrives on the scene, he kills Isabel, who he compels to take off her daylight ring in the sun in 217.
Yeah.
Then, of course, he presumably kills Jenna to transition her into a vampire in 220. Again, we don't see that, but we just have to assume that that's Klaus.
Yeah.
Then the ones we do see the big, adds up is Jules, Jenna, and Elena all die in the sacrifice in 221.
Yeah.
On screen, literally killed by Klaus. And then again, the whole village, I don't know. He's at atrocity levels. We have no way of measuring how many people Klaus has killed.
Yeah.
But for sure 5.
Yeah, definitely. And then, of course, all the brothers killed all the most people.
Top 4 for sure.
Yeah, Elijah kills 9 people. We first see him come on the scene and he beheads Trevor with
the whiplash. Yeah.
Yeah, he's wild. Elijah has all the best kills.
He does.
So yeah, Elijah kills Trevor. He compels Slater to stake himself in the heart in the next episode. And then in that same episode, he kills... Well, no, it's the next episode when Elena goes to try to sacrifice herself. Elijah kills Cody, the person Elena emailed or something. And then the 2 people that came along with him. He does the double heart extraction.
That's my favorite one, the heart
that was my favorite too. Yeah, and then when all of the werewolf stuff is going down, Elijah extracts the hearts of 3 werewolves.
Yeah.
And then he... punches or elbows
Stevie
so hard it breaks his neck and kills him.
Yeah.
He's an icon.
He's always so creative with the deaths.
He's
really
always so
creative. Yeah, 214 was when all the wolves, when he got them.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots for Elijah. Now into our big killers, the Salvatore brothers.
Of course.
Who would have guessed, dethroned from our number 1 in season 1, now in number 2, Damon Salvatore.
I was shocked.
Well, so here's where it gets tricky. We're counting him as 10 because we're really only counting like what we see on screen, which again with the werewolf specifically gets pretty fuzzy.
Yeah. True.
So for sure we do see right off the bat kills Jeremy Gilbert because he was acting like a big baby in 201 because Elena didn't love him back.
Great. Yeah.
Then, of course, we see him, the police deputy situation with Caroline. He feeds on one of them, so we're assuming that he killed them in 205. He rips out the heart of Mason Lockwood, of course, in 206. Damon only has 10, but they're all, like, memorable.
Yeah.
So Mason, of course, Elijah, he does stab him with the coat rack, which, of course, he comes back, but it was a death for all intents and purposes in 208. Of course, the mercy kill of Rose in 212. And then, of course, the feeding on Jessica at the very end of 212. Then again in 213, we only are counting him as 1, like, werewolf heart extraction because that's all we see.
Right.
He presumably could have killed more. We don't know. So the race is pretty close, but that's what we've got him at. Then, of course, as we've already mentioned, Luca Martin with the flamethrower in 216. Devastating. You didn't even know he was doing that one, so that's great. Again, more witches. Maddox, he snaps his neck after Matt shoots him. So a little assist from Matt. Yeah. Honorable mention as a killer.
Love to be 17, 18 years old and a killer.
Yeah, he's already on the list. But yeah, so Damon shoots him. He snaps his neck after Matt shoots him. Yep. And then the last one is, of course, Greta, who he also snaps her neck during the sacrifice to, like, kind of end that in 221. Yeah. So... big chunk for Damon there.
Yes, somehow surpassed by Stefan. And it's not even his Ripper season.
Yeah, still a baby killer at this point.
Yeah, Stefan somehow killed 12 people, but most of them were just like, he had to.
Yeah, or flashbacks.
Yeah, or flashbacks. So first, Stefan kills the 3 werewolves with the flamethrower when they're all out in the woods at Jules and Brady's RV.
Yeah, which is crazy. That's 213 is the first time we see him kill somebody. He got this high up after not killing for 12 episodes.
First half of the season. Yeah, and then here he goes.
He turned it around.
Yeah, and then of course he kills Brady when Brady tries to kidnap Elena.
Yeah.
Then we see back in 1864, Stefan fed on 3 girls and presumably killed them.
Yeah.
And then we also see in a flashback he killed Thomas and Honoria Fell and Jonathan Gilbert.
Yep.
But Jonathan comes back because he has the ring.
Yep.
And then we see him snap Jonas's neck to save Bonnie. Again, after Catherine feeds on him.
Yeah, I was going to say, Catherine with an assist on all of these.
Yeah. Yeah, an indirect assist on most of these, for sure.
Yeah.
And then in the last episode, we, of course, see Stefan feed on the warehouse girl that Klaus has brought to him to fully push him into his Ripper era.
Yeah. So like we said, a lot of those were like 1864 flashback kills, which is promising of where he's going to be ranked in season 3 based on how many we've already seen in 1864's last Ripper era.
Yeah.
So good setup for him. So as we said in season 1, we can't pick a favorite death because that's weird.
Yeah, of course.
But we'll pick our most impactful death. That could be either personally, story-wise, however you feel about it. I think it's easy to say from those lists of deaths above that like 3 stand out as being the contenders for this category. That's of course Rose, Jenna, and John. They're really the biggest impacts on the story, on like yourself as you're watching, on the characters as they're experiencing it. Like those are the ones that are gonna make you cry. Those are the ones that are gonna like you're gonna talk about after the season. Yeah. So they're the easy like 3 contenders for most impactful death, I think.
Yeah, I agree. But for my most impactful death, I had to go with Uncle John.
Me too.
Okay. I couldn't remember. I wasn't sure if that was gonna be your number 1, but. Not number 1, but most impactful. There's no number one death. Correction.
Favorite kill.
But yeah, there's just something about the total like turn Uncle John does where in season 1 you hate him, you don't care if he lives or dies. Catherine cuts off his fingers and you're cheering.
Yeah,
you're like,
let's go.
What an icon. I love Catherine. Yeah, and then I don't know, somehow he becomes just someone that we care about and we're sad to see die. Yeah. And of course, it's only amplified by John's letter that he reads while we see Elena and everyone going through John and Jenna's funeral.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's crazy because I feel like even at the start of that episode 221, when he shows up at the door like a Damon answers, you're like, oh, this guy. Like, you still don't even really care if he lives or dies.
Yeah. So, although you do feel a little bad.
You do feel bad.
Never hasn't contacted him at all.
No.
He dies without even getting a chance to talk to Elena.
I know. That devastates me.
I know. Except through this letter.
Yeah, except through the letter. Yeah, I do think there's something about like his death being this very quiet, very sensitive moment with the letter, with getting to hear his words that like really makes it so impactful to like me on a personal level, on a viewer, I think. Giving up his life willingly for Elena just to have a human one. She was going to come back as a vampire, but like allowing her to have a human life.
The thing she wanted the most.
It's so impactful. And it's of course heavily wrapped up in Jenna's death. They really go hand in hand, so that helps John here a little bit.
It is hard to say. I mean, there's the
joint funeral. It's like hard to separate them really. But yeah, I do think like he was the one that they gave the letter to. He was the one that got to do that and got to read it, and we got to hear his voice. And so that's the one I think that really like kind of sticks with you. And again, the surprise factor too of like we all know we love Jenna. We love Jenna.
Yeah, of course I'm sad Jenna died. Yeah.
But I thought I hated John, and then I'm sobbing every time I watch him die.
I know, when Elena lays the rose on his grave. Oh my god.
It's so devastating. It's so I sob every time. Like that's impressive writing. That is just insane.
Yeah.
So Uncle John, most impactful death of season 2 for the Rippah girls.
I know. I think so. I'd love to say Rose or Jenna like we talked about, but I don't know. Rose is like maybe narratively more impactful, but to me, in my heart, it's Uncle John.
I mean, he gets to make sure Elena stays human. That's so narratively impactful. Imagine if she became a vampire right here. She would have hated Damon forever.
That's true. My world just revolves around Damon. Something to his narrative most impactful. But yeah.
Yeah, Jen is the one that generally maybe makes me the most sad, but I don't know. There's so many good ones. Mason too, I would say.
Yeah, that's true.
His death isn't so sad, but I don't know.
Sad to see him go.
Sad to see him go, for real.
Yeah.
R.I.P. to a good one.
Yeah.
To a few good ones.
A lot of good ones. Yeah, 56 good ones.
56 good ones.
Yeah. But completely, like, a little bit more of an uplifting topic. Yeah, U-turn here. Time for our top 3 outfits of the season. Love a good outfit moment.
Yep.
There were, I mean, so many that I want to talk about. So
many.
Unofficial ones I'll just rattle off.
Okay.
Every single Decade Dance outfit.
Oh, yeah.
Loved. I didn't go with any of them, but I love them all. You're all, it's like the tier TikTok of like, I was hoping you were good, but you were, There's no outfits on that tier. They're all love good. But yeah, Rose's dress in the piece Damon gives her, like the dream. So I love that. Every one of Elijah's suits. I mean,
every single one.
But I mean, that's mostly Daniel, but they're still all amazing.
Yeah.
But for I'll go with, I mean, these aren't like officially ranked or anything, but
just general.
For a little dark horse pick, I'm going to go with Klaus's outfit in 1492.
That's so funny.
His blue velvet.
I was going to say, not the leather jacket with the bloody shirt.
No, not the leather jacket and bloody shirt. When he first shows up on the scene, his like blue velvet, I don't know, like just like top.
Yeah. It's 1400s tunic thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's some weird tunic thing. It looks so good. It works for the time, I think. I'm not an expert, but I think it works. And it looks so good. I don't know why in the show, I don't know, they don't light it well enough to really see it.
I know, it's hard to see it. But there's high-res photos.
Yeah, in promo material. I love it. So I'll count it.
Yeah, love it. It's because they make the 1400s flashbacks like orange. Like they do like a weird filter on it.
Yeah.
But I do like that one. That one's a good one. And his hair.
Oh my God, yeah. I love the hair. It's great.
Love the hair.
Love Klaus.
Speaking of loving the hair, I did do a Decade Dance outfit.
I mean, there's so many good ones.
So many good ones. It was hard to choose, but I ended up going with Elena's. I really like in 218 Elena's like purple little go-go with the white boots, like when she's like getting chased by a Rick Klaus through the like hallways in her like white go-go boots and her purple dress and her ponytail, extra long ponytail.
Yeah,
I just love that outfit. I think she looks so cute.
Really
it's so memorable to me. Like it's an outfit that like I could easily recall from the series.
Yeah,
it's just like one of my favorites.
Yeah. No, that's a really good one. Elena had a lot of good outfits this season.
Yeah, she did.
And for my little Elena representation here, I had to go with Elena's funeral outfit. A very sad one.
We love a serve at a funeral.
I know, but she was serving. She did not have to serve that hard at a funeral, but I love like the like fitted sort of sheath dress fit, and then the low ponytail with like the very simple silver earrings. I don't know. She just looked amazing. I thought she looked beautiful.
And it makes sense for the story of like she didn't really have a lot of makeup on.
Yeah.
She had, again, the low pony, like clearly just threw that together.
Yeah.
Felt like it could be a dress in her closet that she just threw on.
Yeah.
She probably wore it to her parents' funeral.
Yeah.
Like it makes sense within the story, but it still like looked good and like pulled it together. And then like I love like holding the roses with that. You know, like that as a visual is all really strong.
Yeah.
I really like that. Which actually the logic of that reminds me of my next pick, which I have to imagine you also picked since you haven't said it yet.
Probably.
Which is 207, Catherine's masquerade
Yes.
look.
Oh my God. I had 3 for Catherine tied at my top number 1 outfits.
I love that.
Yeah.
But this one is kind of the same idea where it's like the black dress with the pops of red. Like she has the red lip. She's eating red strawberries a lot of the episode. Like there's something about wearing like a black outfit with a pop of red. As I'm actually doing right now if you're not watching the video episode unintentionally. There's something about a black outfit with a pop of red that I think is so visually like interesting.
Yes, absolutely.
And then of course, I mean her mask, Catherine's masquerade mask.
Oh my God.
It's like iconic, like a piece of Vampire Diaries like history. Like that's always in like drawings and things, you know, like it's such a piece of the show.
Strong visually.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And she looks amazing.
So beautiful. Yeah, she looks amazing. Like the like little bit of a bump in. Yeah. Like she's got the straight hair.
Yeah, the Elena straight hair because she has to.
Has to, of course.
Yeah, but then with the bump because it's Catherine, she's got to be stylish.
Yeah, of course.
She looks so good.
Yeah, like I just said, I went with 3 outfits for my number 1 outfit because Catherine served every single time she was on screen. One of them was the masquerade outfit, of course. The another like like present day one is in The Return, episode 1, when Catherine shows up in the black jean jacket, which I'm wearing, and the black top, and then the black jeans with like the boots.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she looks so good.
Love
love that whole outfit with her big curls because she gets to be Catherine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
So
my
good.
next choice too.
Yes.
Was 201 because I like it. It looks good, obviously.
It looks
she looks
incredible,
great.
yeah.
But I think it's so brilliant as like a choice of the first outfit we actually get to see modern Catherine in, because of course we saw her in 121, but she was dressed like Elena. She stole Elena's clothes to try to blend in as her. And then we've only seen her in flashbacks besides that. This is the first time where we're properly getting modern day Catherine.
Yes.
And they chose every piece of Elena's wardrobe because Elena has such a staple wardrobe.
Yeah.
And they flipped it.
Yes.
They were like, Elena always wears her leather jacket. Catherine's getting a denim one.
Yep.
Like, you know, Elena always wears her flared bootcut jeans. Catherine's getting skinny jeans,
Yes.
black ones.
Yes.
And then, of course, Elena always has her Converse. Catherine's getting high heels.
Yes.
At a memorial. She doesn't care.
Yes.
And then, of course, the big curls. Like, everything
course.
about it is telling us this is not Elena. It's almost shocking that, like, Bonnie has a whole conversation with her thinking that it's Elena.
Yeah,
it's like, this
it's
looks
ridiculous.
so different than Elena.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be like, Elena, what are you wearing? Like,
Yeah.
you look so different.
Yeah, no. Catherine comes on the scene. Yeah, what a strong choice for a first outfit. It literally altered my brain chemistry. I try to emulate that outfit like every day.
I know, I love it.
I haven't worn a color since seeing that episode.
It's such a good one.
It's so good. It's so good. Love Catherine. But for me, her like the time she served the most was in not black actually, back in 1492 when Catherine wears that green dress that she wears in the episode Klaus, and she's talking to Elijah out in the garden. That dress is so beautiful. It's like a green
gorgeous.
velvet corset laced up the front. It's got like a asymmetrical sleeve. It's sort of like,
Yeah.
I don't know, almost
Kind of like a bell sleeve. Like a very big
kind of
sleeve.
Yeah, and it's got like the lighter green on the inside lining.
Yeah. It's
Oh my
beautiful.
God, it's so beautiful. And her little like braided crown
I
in
love
her hair.
that. Yeah, she
She
always
looks
serves
so
in a
good.
green dress and a flashback.
Oh my God, she really does.
Yeah, I love those.
Green and black are her colors.
Yeah.
She looks so good in those colors.
Such good picks.
Yeah.
I love all these outfits.
I know.
Sorry to the boys, none of you got a pick.
I know. Well, that's why I gave Klaus a little shout out. I was
Oh
like,
yeah, you picked Klaus.
It
You
barely
picked Klaus.
counts because it's 1492. But
Yeah.
it's like we gotta give
That's
a
the
male
only
outfit, I guess.
One boy, I guess. We
Yeah.
couldn't do Damon's decade dance. After
No.
you guys said that was the best.
It's just his regular clothes.
It's so funny.
Yeah. Elijah's suits, though, I did think about those strongly. He does look
Elijah's is
good,
a good one.
but they're just suits.
Yeah, I feel like if we do originals, he's gonna get the vote for best outfit
Yeah,
in originals.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got so many good suits.
He really does.
From suits to out of pocket.
Yes. Oh my God, this season was so out of pocket.
This season was so out of pocket. We love in her outros always mentioning like an out of pocket moment, and of course we had to do again our top 3 out of pocket moments for the season, and we did rank these. I'll start out first with my number 3. I did 202 Caroline. I've mentioned Caroline's transition a few times because it's so iconic to me, and of course it's when Caroline tells the nurse to tell people that she has a hickey because her husband likes to get kinky. That was not
Caroline.
necessary, girl. Just be like, don't say anything. I don't know. Like, there has to be. I mean, she's 17 and she's just stumbling into this. And she did great. But it's just so funny that she's like, that's what you have to tell people. She's compelled. She has to tell people now. My husband likes to get kinky.
That's pretty good. That's really good. I like that.
I just love that as an out of pocket. It's so funny. It's so
pretty
funny.
out of pocket. It's giving she was watching the CW.
Yeah, she was. She loved Gossip Girl.
Yes.
She definitely did.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that one. I actually also went with a Caroline moment
I
for
love
my
that.
number 3.
She's always out of pocket.
I had to go with, which I know we said it makes sense for the story, but I had to go with Caroline's outfit when she's Dark Caroline.
Oh, yeah. New vampire Caroline.
Yeah. The way they, I mean, again, it makes sense, but the way they made her do like a smoky eye, jean capris, a rhinestone graphic shirt with ballet flats.
Yeah.
Again, it does make a lot of sense, but that doesn't mean it wasn't out of pocket.
That doesn't mean it was a good outfit.
Exactly.
It was not. It was not.
Exactly.
I know so many people have been like, it's appropriate for the era. That's what people wore. I'm like,
it is.
maybe, but.
I guess, sure. But it's just still looking, how about we say looking back on it, it's out of pocket.
It's a bad outfit. I don't care if it was cool in 2010. It's not cool now. It's not.
Terrible.
It looks bad. Speaking of being not cool, this maybe should be my number one because it's so funny, but I had a hard time not making Tyler every single one of my out-of-pockets because he has all of the best ones. He's so funny, unintentionally. So I went with 213, Tyler yelling, help, help, into his phone just because Stefan's talking to him. That's the funniest scene to me. The way, also that result, that's what he did. That's literally what he did. He barely bent down to yell help. And then it resulted in Caroline being kidnapped and tortured, which is just out of pocket. What else could that be but out of pocket? It's so funny to me.
It was. No, it was. He was like, I can't stand talking to my classmate.
If we're ever in a situation where we need to get out of something, I'm gonna help just to let you know because it's so funny. Oh
That's
my
a really
god,
good moment.
I
don't know how I really messed up. Tyler didn't make any of my out of pockets for some reason.
He's got all the best ones.
He does have a lot of good ones. Sort of related to Tyler, my number 2 spot went to Maddox when he flips Carol off the second story.
He didn't need to do that. The call worked just fine.
That's exactly it. That to me is the epitome of out of pocket because it was in no way necessary.
No.
Nearly broke Carol's back.
Like just
for no reason.
Like, did Tyler call the hospital, be like, I would just want to check the records. Is she actually in the hospital? No, she called and he came. Like, that's all that needed to happen.
It worked.
It was
I
crazy.
don't even know.
It was crazy.
Just ridiculous.
Yeah, unnecessary.
It's
Definitely
so
out of pocket.
Yeah.
Back to Tyler again. It's always Tyler.
Of course.
My number one I went with was 205 when Tyler and Jeremy are hanging out and Jeremy shows Tyler that he's been drawing wolves. So Tyler chokes him out. And it's like, why are you drawing wolves?
A thing every teenage boy is like
Literally,
obsessed with at some point.
It's like not weird like at all. Like
I
why
know.
I mean obviously it was weird to him because he just found out he's a werewolf or could be a werewolf. So that's why he did it. But it's like Tyler, you've had this secret for 24 hours and you're not doing well at keeping it at all. He also immediately tells Jeremy after this. He's like, I'm a werewolf. Or I could be. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. But
I also love the way that Tyler lures him in there. I haven't watched this episode in a while, but I'm remembering Tyler being like, oh yeah, Jeremy, like, come into my dad's office. I gotta show you something. It's on his desk. And Jeremy starts to look and then
I think that's what he does. He like pulls him away from the girls like they
the
can't
girls
see
are in
this.
the other room.
So out of pocket.
That's a really good
Or
out of
justified.
pocket.
I don't know. Tyler's brilliant. What can I say? What can I say? I'm really looking to season 3 Tyler.
He only becomes more unhinged.
Yeah. In a less funny way though.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. For my number 1 spot, I had to go with Liz and Matt's honeypot scheme.
It's so crazy.
To me, Liz is Caroline's mother. She's using
Take her to the
her
prom.
boyfriend. Yeah, literally Liz is like, take her to the prom, damn it. Like,
Buck up and do it, champs. Do what has to be done. That's the whole vibe of
She's
this
so
whole
insane.
partnership, whatever it is.
yeah, it's just ridiculous. It is wild. I'm so glad. Like, this is one thing I would not change about this season because I love it. It's so ridiculous. It makes me laugh every time.
It's just so dumb because yes, that's her daughter, but also this is a 17-year-old boy that she's just getting to help like with these cop duties. I don't know. He should have no business in this.
Also, this all starts off because Matt goes up to Liz like outside of the, I don't know, the sheriff's office, whatever that building would be called.
Yeah.
And starts like fighting her.
Harassing
Yeah,
her.
he's like yelling at her. I think he shoves
killed
her.
Vicky? Yeah.
Who killed Vicky? Yeah, it's out of pocket from
insane.
the jump. It's
So
crazy.
many out of pockets. Felt like there was a lot of mentions to Caroline, Tyler, Liz, that whole grouping of
all
people.
of
is
them. Carol.
always-
Yeah. Anytime those guys are involved,
Anyone with the last name Forbes or Lockwood.
it's gonna be out of pocket.
Bad. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I love all of it though. It's so funny.
I know.
Probably keeping with some funny, but maybe also getting into some serious
Yeah.
because there's just so many good on both sides of it. Is our quotes of the season. Of course, we always like to talk about the quote, the best quote of the episode. I had to, for my number 3, go with 213, We're Gonna Slumber It by Elena.
Yeah.
I love We're Gonna Slumber It. We did that in honor
for
our trivia.
Yeah.
We're gonna slumber it. We love it. It's so
It's really
funny.
fun.
It's such a cute little. Nobody says that, but it's funny.
It's funny.
It's so cute.
It feels very of the era where it's like you were kind of like trying to make fetch happen. People were saying words, trying to make them things.
People were trying to make anything happen.
Yeah.
Elena was trying to make We're Gonna Slumber It happen.
Yeah, and she did for us.
She did for us personally, and hopefully all of you.
Yeah.
So I love We're Gonna Slumber It. I thought that was a cute one. So that was my number 3.
That's a really, really good one. For my number 3, I went more like the sentimental and like more meaningful on a rewatch angle. And I went with Stefan in season 2, episode 5. I guess I don't need to say the season. We're talking about season 2. But I've said it a few times.
213, 215, whatever.
Yeah. But when Stefan says, today when we're fighting, if I say, I can't do this anymore, Elena, what I really mean is that I love you.
Oh.
I love it.
That was such a sweet one.
Such a strong Stefan season.
Yeah, I wish I thought of that one.
Yeah.
And obviously that one's like more rewarding and more painful.
Yeah, more
based
painful,
on what happens
sure.
in season 4. So,
yeah.
Man, memorable though. That's
very
a good one.
memorable to me now. Yeah.
Yeah, one that's very memorable to me, sticking with the funny for me always, is
I think I stuck with the sentimentals. This tracks.
This really tracks. I'm always hee and ha-haing over here, and Rachel's crying over there.
Yeah.
I don't know. So for my number 2, I went with 219 again. 2, I guess. Yes, I'm a little behind on the times, but I believe the term you're searching for is OMG, Elijah. I love that quote. I think it's really so funny. I think his delivery is perfect. It's like one of those things that just sticks out. Elena's like literally shell-shocked just finding out that the curse like doesn't exist, or that Klaus is like, his brother. Whichever plot twist is dropped right there.
Yeah.
It's just so funny that he's just like got that at the ready.
Yeah, I do really like that one. Elijah has so many good quotes.
He really does.
I don't know how he didn't make any of mine, but yeah, he's just overall too quotable.
Yeah, that's true.
He gets overlooked for me. But for my second one, I'm gonna go with, of course, whether you're now reading this as a human or as a vampire, I love you all the same, as I have always loved you, and as I always will.
Oh,
John. In,
so
of course,
sweet.
The second to last episode.
Yeah, 221. Yeah, that's such a... It's, like, so memorable, and it's like, heartbreaking. And it's one of those things that I feel like you do kind of forget. And then as you, like... I don't know, I guess, like, rewatch, you're like, oh, how did I ever forget the existence of this moment?
I know, yeah. Just that whole letter could have been my quote. I don't know.
It's such a great one.
Yeah. I love the choice to also do the reading of it over, like, the voiceover. While they're at the funeral. I don't know. I could have picked any line from that letter probably, or the whole letter, but yeah.
I know. It's just so sweet, the whole thing. Tearjerker, like, immediately every single time.
Yeah. The tears fall. Yeah.
Yeah. Not a tearjerker, but an icon. Again, I said this in this episode when this happened. This quote, my number 1 quote, is one of the most memorable quotes of Vampire Diaries ever.
I think we're gonna have the same quote.
Okay, good. Yeah. We get this in our comment section like daily.
Yeah.
Like any sort of anything we ever post. Of, like, choose your fave. People say this. You probably already know what it is. In 222, Catherine's "It's okay to love them both." I did. So iconic.
Catherine.
Words to live by.
Yeah, words to live by.
Yeah, I love her for that.
Yeah, no. She's a real one. I love Catherine.
I know. It's so good. I gotta say, I'm shocked you did that and not Damon's entire speech from 212.
I really did think about it, but I felt like it was a little bit too long.
It's very long.
Also, I don't know. To me, I do love that scene. As you all know, I can recite it word for word. But the Catherine quote is too iconic. And then, I don't know, I went with... thought I should give Stefan a little shout out. I feel like Damon will have a lot in season 3.
Damon always has best quotes. So if you're mad that actually neither of us did a Damon best quote, which is really surprising.
I know, yeah.
Sorry.
Maybe I should have. Uh-oh.
Go watch the season 1 one. I think he got a bunch of those best quotes. Yeah. And I'm sure in season 3 he'll get something.
Yeah, most episodes. Just watch the last 2 minutes.
He does have a lot of the best quotes just generally.
Yeah, it's almost like Elijah. He has so many.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to pick like
kind of overlook. Yeah.
And we're trying to not just do 3 Damon quotes. That's not fun for anybody.
I know. I can't just sit here and give whole Damon monologues.
Yeah, so we have to shake it up. But.
Yeah. Plus, my Damon moment, that Damon moment is represented in other ways.
Oh, it is for me too.
We'll get there.
Yeah, sounds like that's going to segue us into our next category.
Yes.
Our top 3 songs of the season. This is taste. This is our taste only. This is not about like the moment, how it is in Vampire. It's not about how like famous it is in Vampires or anything like that. This is just like our taste of what we like the most, what we wanted to highlight. There's lots of songs I really like that are in this season, like Tighten Up by the Black Keys, On Melancholy Hill by the Gorillaz, Helena Beat by Foster the People. There's so many good ones that like are songs I actually really like and listen to all the time, but chose not to nominate because for as much as I like them, they're not Vampire Diaries songs. Maybe other things just generally just beat them. But yeah, so there's so many good songs, and there's of course so many good songs that like I left out that I felt like I should do because they're iconic like Vampire Diaries songs. But I'm like, I just personally prefer other ones. So I think we're going with our personal faves. I'll go with my number 3 first because Rachel claims she doesn't even know this song, so I know she doesn't have it.
Is it dedicated to the one I love?
No, but it should be. I love that one too.
Oh, that's my number 3.
No, I'm just kidding. That would be so funny after all season being like, I don't like this song. I can't win.
I will say I listened to it the other day and I was like,
it's a great song. It's a great song. No, but this one you always claim to forget.
Possible.
I was wrong by Sleeper Star.
Yes, I do claim to forget it.
I'm going to say yes, I did forget it actually.
No, I do claim to forget it. It just doesn't stand out to me as much as some other songs.
This one stands out to me so drastically. This is, of course, played in 208 when Damon tells Elena that he loves her and he compels her to forget. So, of course, I do have the bias of it being like my favorite Delena moment too. But I feel like it just stands out so strongly. The like, oh, 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 oh.
Yeah.
It's so memorable of her like with standing, like the wide shot of her just standing there with the necklace looking so confused and he's crying. And the lyrics of like, I was wrong, like really fit with Damon in that moment. I think it's a beautiful song. I think it's a beautiful moment. I think they're paired perfectly together. That's one that I really remember, like, when the season came out, watching it live, that I was just replaying, like, every single week until season 3 came back. I was like, this is the song of the season for me. But it's my number 3, and it's my only, like, sentimental sad one, surprisingly. I feel like there's a lot of good sentimental kind of sad ones, but that was the one for me that was like, that's the number 1 of the sentimental for me. So.
Yeah. There were a lot of good sentimental ones. I feel like I always go with those. But for my number 3 spot, I did not go the sentimental route. I went with Happiness is Overrated by the Airborne Toxic Event.
Of course.
First of all, I love that song. Amazing.
Love.
But there has been no greater musical moment in TV history than when Catherine has freshly come out of the tomb. She's showering in Damon's shower, and that song plays, and it says, "Speaking of Little Miss Catherine," while she like turns to look at Damon. Oh,
so iconic.
Like, I can't think of a better moment in television, literally ever. It's just so good.
It's so good. Perfect segue, because that's my number 2. That is perfect. Like, it's such a good moment.
It's so
good. It's in 2:15, like you said, and they must have had that like on lock, bookmarked. Like, we have to find a spot to use this for Catherine because it's so perfect. And they use the Airborne Toxic Event like all the time. They used that album in season 1 as well, in 118. So yeah, I love that they clearly like saved that song, saved that moment. For a big Catherine entrance, and it was so worth the wait because it like plays really so well. It fits perfectly. So that was my number 2. I love that song.
It's so good. Also, I just love listening to that song. Yeah. For my number 2 slot, this was a really, really hard choice for me. Part of me wanted to do like a quintessential Vampire Diaries song like Skinny Love by Birdie, but I'm gonna pull a little twist and I'm gonna go still sentimental. I'm gonna go Amen Omen by Ben Harper.
A Catherine moment.
I love that Catherine moment. I did already give it a little shout out in when I was just talking about Nina's performance in that whole episode. But yeah, that song plays while Catherine is reading the Petrova Bloodline book. And I just love that. I don't know. I probably should go Skinny Love, but I want to mix it up. I want to have fun.
Mix it up.
If we're not going based on like what it means to the Vampire Diaries community,
I
gotta say the Birdie version I like a lot, and it works so well. It's so Vampire Diaries to me, but I don't know.
I mean, this is the thing. This is why we prefaced it by saying these are our favorites. This is our taste. Because if we were ranking what's the number 1 song here, just objectively Vampire Diaries, it's Skinny Love Birdie.
It's Skinny Love Birdie.
That's the number 1 of the whole season for sure.
Of course.
But this is not about that.
No, this is us having fun.
And I think Amen Omen is a good choice. It's so memorable. Again, it's like it perfectly scores like with that moment of the drama of the sadness of Catherine, and that's the first time we really see a vulnerable moment out of her.
I know. Yeah,
I've also I really never like that one.
Heard that song anywhere else, but I feel like Skinny Love, at least the Bon Iver version, is like,
I mean, massive.
It's huge.
One of the most popular songs.
Like, an incredibly popular song.
So I think that's a good one. That's kind of what I liked about Happiness is Overrated as well, as it's like a song I found through Vampire Diaries. I always love that. Exactly. Speaking of our has to be shared number one thing.
If you haven't already said it, it is.
If we haven't already said it, it is. We hyped this one up so hard in the episode. We play this all the time.
Yeah. This was in my Spotify top 5 like this year.
Yeah. I love this
song so much.
It's so good. If you don't already know what it is, you got to go back and listen to 212 because it is DLZ by TV on the Radio. Our fave song of maybe the whole series.
Ever
up
written.
There.
I think.
Best song ever written? You heard it here first, folks.
I listen to that song like an abnormal amount.
I
do
playlist,
too. I listen to it. Doing work, listening to it. Hanging out with Sarah, listening to it. Hanging out with Shay and Sarah, listening to it.
Letting your humanity loose and laying in the road and finding women to kill, listening to it.
Monologuing at like some poor woman who just tried to help me out. Listening to it.
Yeah, it's such a memorable song. Damon, of course, his breakdown in the road, giving the whole speech to Jessica that we've already talked about several times. It's so memorable, and it's just a great song. It was also used in Breaking Bad, so I know a lot of people associate it to that as well. But it's Vampire Diaries to me. It's so Vampire Diaries. And I love TV on the Radio. They also have Wolf Like Me, which I also really liked. Which is actually in the same episode as I Was Wrong. So it was hard. It couldn't win for me because I Was Wrong is my fave. But TV on the Radio is great. And I really liked DLZ is the best.
Yeah. No, I love that song. When I heard it in Breaking Bad, I was like,
Vampire Diaries
song.
Yeah. I know. I love that one.
It's such a good song.
So I'm glad.
Perfect.
Yeah. I'm glad 2 years in a row of us mutually agreeing on the number one song of the season.
It's just the best song.
It's the best song.
Yeah.
So you can listen to all of our best song picks as well as all of our picks throughout the whole season 2 and season 1 at the link in our playlist. We have all like a full season 1, a full season 2, and then a full all best song winners playlist. Lots of playlists if you want to listen to the music. You can also find there our socials, TikTok, Instagram. We're always posting fun memes, clips, polls, I don't know, all sorts of stuff you can participate and join the community in.
Yeah, and you can listen to the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you're not already. And you can watch the video version on YouTube if you want to see some visuals, how we coordinate our outfits to
what we're talking about.
Yeah, sometimes the outfits we're talking about. And you can join us next week for a little special episode before we get into season 3. As we mentioned, season 3 comes on May 30th. But next week, we're going to talk about why do people hate Matt Donovan?
Why do people hate Matt Donovan? I wonder.
It was not a thing when Vampire Diaries was on TV. Maybe season 8.
Yeah.
But definitely not season 2, season
It's
3.
grown. It's grown. And maybe a little of why do people hate Elena Gilbert too?
Yeah. Gonna talk about how some perceptions of characters have changed. Yeah, Elena's a little bit hated now too.
Yeah, a lot to dig in there. So if you're still listening and you've got some thoughts on that, let us know. We'd love to add it into that episode.
Yeah. Comment. Why do you hate that Donovan?
Let us know. We'll talk about it. But looking forward to that conversation. And of course the other fun specials we'll be doing until May 30th when we do get to season 3, episode 1, the birthday. So thanks for watching and or listening to this one, the season 2 recap. Officially, season 2 is behind us.
Yeah. I'm so excited to start season 3. It's not even funny. I think about it every day.
So thanks for watching and or listening to this one. Bye.